Hi, welcome back. And in this video, we will talk about Nietzsche. The pages that I have covered is almost 306 pages, and this is the book as you have seen. So it's a lengthy book, and I would warn you that it's not an easy read at the same time. If I say that I have understood almost 50% of what I have read, and that too will be an overstatement, and I'm not lying in this matter because the content is very tough, though the commentary is there, and I think without commentary I would have had a hard time, because after commentary I'm still able to get 50% of what I have read. If there had been no commentary, I would have got just 5 to 10%, and that too would have been much more than what I can claim. So reading Nietzsche is not an easy task, it's a challenging, but the important part is that it is very fun. The way Nietzsche attacks Christianity, the way he attacks morality, the way he attacks the principle of pleasure, the way he attacks our general conception, our general way of living, the way he attacks pity as well. So it's all very powerful, and I think it's something new that I have never read before, and I would have been in a dark if I hadn't picked this book up. And also there is one very interesting thing in this, is that few months ago, I'm not sure when, maybe last year or in the beginning of this year, I read Charles Darwin's Origin of Species. At that time I was very much impressed by his theory of natural selection and how he equaled man and animals. There is one interesting thing that you must have noticed while reading, that he didn't discuss man in general, he discussed just living beings, whether plants or animals, and he took the cases or the examples from different species of plants and animals. And the way he avoided discussing man was very surprising, and it puzzled so many philosophers, so many scientists, why he didn't take the case of man in particular. Because according to Darwin's theory, man, there is no clear distinction between man and animals. If I am a human being and if there is an ape, then there is nothing to distinguish. So Nietzsche, as I have read this, he didn't find this theory cool, I would say, using the modern term. He completely avoided, or I should say attacked this theory of natural selection. Especially he agreed with this theory, but he didn't agree with this notion that man and animals are equal. According to Nietzsche, there is a marked distinction between man and animal, because also he also proposed one more notion. There is a distinction between man and some special man, because all men are not equal as per Nietzsche's philosophy. So we will come to that later on or some other time. But the way he attacked the most famous theory of his time, attacking Darwin, I think it would have been a very courageous task. And he definitely made a very relevant point when he said that there are certain men which are completely different than animals. Why? Because they contain something not magical, but something that is more charming, that is attained after a period of intense suffering, and that is not attained by animals or their kingdom. This is his major distinction between the two species. And when I was reading this, I was completely in awe regarding the whole text. So this, I think this is one of the interesting points that I have observed while reading this book. And another point is that if you read Nietzsche, as I can show you, as you can see the cover of this book, it's Nietzsche, it's by Walter Kaufmann, and he is the commentator of his various books. So if you read Nietzsche, or if you read just one of his books, it is very difficult to understand him. And chances are that you will probably misunderstand him, because if you understand his philosophy from the beginning to the end, before he touched insanity, he has used same terms with different meanings. In the beginning of his period, with the birth of tragedy, I forgot the title. I apologize. What was that? I will be uneasy until I find this out. That's really bad. Just give me a second, please. Yeah, The Birth of Tragedy was his first book. So he has used certain notions like Apollyon or Dionysian, and later on in his books, in his other books, he has used these terms with a different meaning and different interpretations. So I think if I had read Nietzsche's The Birth of Tragedy or some other books, I would have had a very problematic time to understand his concept, because I would have thought that in one book he is saying something else, in other it has completely different meaning. So now I would suggest you, if you want to read Nietzsche, go with this book first of all, because in this way Walter Kaufmann will help you in understanding the significance or the context of all the books from beginning to end, and also some other articles or essays or some German books. He will help you in understanding the whole concept of his philosophy, the whole broader framework through which you could understand Nietzsche much more better. And as per the author of this book, it is also said that Nietzsche has been more misunderstood than he has been understood by the people, because of his aphorisms. You know what, when I was reading this book, and particularly certain aphorisms, I really had a hard time, if I would say, if I didn't read the explanation in the commentary part, because those aphorisms are very tricky. Those are in English, no doubt, but the way Nietzsche has written them, it's completely puzzling, or I should say unsettling, because sometimes I would read those aphorisms 3 or 4 times, but still I would be unable to make any sense out of it. So I think in future, if ever I were to read any book of Nietzsche, then definitely I would buy something, you know, as a companion in the form of commentary or something, because alone reading Nietzsche's book alone would be a very tough or challenging task. And yeah, I guess it's a long video, but never mind. And as I have discussed, contradicting Darwin, and he has attacked Christianity as well. He has a lot of praises for Old Testament, but he didn't like New Testament. And he has also presented the concept of suffering in a very necessary form, because without suffering, according to Nietzsche, there will be no progress, there will be nothing to rejuvenate. So he also says that in happiness or in joy, you will also find a component of pain, because without pain, as per Nietzsche or Walter Kaufmann, progress is impossible, and without evil, nothing good can come out of it. So this notion of good and evil is also discussed at length. And the pleasure principle. So at times in this book, Nietzsche compared the principle of pleasure and principle of power. Nietzsche says that the principle of power is encompassing, it also contains the principle of pleasure. So ultimately, the principle of power is more important for people, and their actions are dictated more by the power rather than the pleasure principle. And the last thing, there are, you know, thousands of things to discuss, but I would discuss this just last thing, the process of sublimation. This is a wonderful process. As we are the product of energy, and we create energy, we destroy energy at the same time. The way we utilize our energy, and the way we utilize the process of sublimation, it is just amazing. uh, you know what, sometimes like we have desires, sometimes we have deep passions, and sometimes due to societal norms or our personal beliefs and values, we repress those passions. But according to Nietzsche, in sublimation, you transform or transcend that passion into a constructive way, so that you are using that passion rather than repressing it or just crushing it. In that way, if you are repressing it, you are not getting anything. But if you are transforming it into a more powerful energy, then you are better off. He has given the examples of Indian saints or other people who have transformed their deep passions, and gained this insight through the sacrifice of pleasure principle, or through the conversion of passion into more higher form, I should say. There are more technical terms in this book, I apologize, I am unable to use those terms. So I think so far I am very much satisfied. I just think that I should go more slowly with this book, because as at times I just read and don't focus on the text, and that is my mistake. I take full credit for that. It's not a credit, but I think I should be I should more slower while reading it, because it's Nietzsche. It's not something, you know, like a general story that you can read in you know, while sleeping, or with just in your, you know, busy schedule. Not Nietzsche needs special attention, so you need special time to understand, if you are a little bit serious, more serious than other human beings, about Nietzsche. I think that's what I wanted to discuss in this video, and I will talk to you more sooner. And I really wanted to discuss the process of sublimation in more detail, but I think I'm not competent, and I just wanted to share my reading experience with you guys, so that you could gain, if it's possible, through my understanding of Nietzsche. And if you could get something from this, it will be my pleasure to, you know, help you in any way. And yeah, that's it. Have a nice time, guys. Bye bye, take care.